The lies surrounding alcohol. What if I was to tell you that alcohol is not what we thought it was? All those years that I drank, the 27 years, I thought it was alcohol was everything. I thought alcohol was awesome. I thought it was fulfilling. I thought it gave me everything that I desired, everything that I needed. It was the elixir that helped me figure out life, that helped me feel like I'm alive, and gave me what I needed, especially at a young age when I started drinking when I was 15 years old. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Josh, living life alcohol free. If you're returning, you're a subscriber or a member, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. So today I'm going into depth about how we make alcohol seem to ourselves in our life and how our society also plays a role in that. We glorify alcohol. We make it seem like it's necessary. We make it feel like it's something that we have to celebrate, to mourn, to just have a good time, to be social, to have, to get together with friends. We think that we have to have it. And aside from that, there's other things that we tell ourselves about alcohol that just aren't true. They're myths. They're falsehoods. They're things that we make up in our minds. We come to a decision about it, and then we kind of live like that for a long time, and we stay stuck in that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. And for my particular situation, I feel like I needed to go through all those years of drinking, all the turmoil, all the issues that I had to face, because for a reason. I felt like there was a reason why I had to go through that. I think for me, it was God that was putting me in those situations and kind of teaching me a lesson each time, to a point where I got to a point where here I am making YouTube videos. And how cool is that? And hopefully go further than that. But we'll see what time has in store for me, what God has in store. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that we face. So one thing is, we say to ourselves, it helps us sleep. It helps us go to sleep at night. It helps us sleep through the night, and we feel like we need it in order to have a good night's sleep. And it might be true that it helps us get to sleep, but the thing is most of us, especially like all the people that I've talked to in sobriety and my sober groups, we all have the same thing in common. When we're drinking, we wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning. We're dehydrated. We might have nausea. We might have a headache. We might have anxiety. We might have all the above, or even more than that. And it's hard to get back to sleep. Maybe we do get back to sleep, maybe for an hour or two, but it's not like good sleep. It's not REM sleep. It's not, the good deep sleep that we need to get. And we don't feel rested. So we walk around like a zombie. I made that video last week about just being like an alcoholic zombie. And we walk through our day, and we might start to feel better like around lunchtime, a little bit more rejuvenated. As time goes on in the afternoon, we might get a second wind, or maybe even just a first wind. But at any rate, we start that pattern all over again. We drink after work or on the weekend, and that's our weeks are filled with just drinking most days. And it's not a situation that helps us in our rest and our sleep and our recovery, and it doesn't make for a good way of life. Another thing that I wrote down here that I wanted to talk about was the anxiety part of drinking. I always thought that alcohol calmed my anxiety down, and I was pretty super anxious in my 20s. I knew that I was anxious in my teenage years, but it really didn't hit me until I was an adult, 24 to be exact. I had a massive panic attack. I ended up in the hospital overnight, just for one night, but the panic attacks and the anxiety did not go away. And I didn't blame exactly my drinking for the panic attacks. I did have a lot of caffeine that day, and it could have been a combination of just underlying anxiety, caffeine, alcohol the night before, a lot of it, and it could have just been all that all together that caused me to have that like severe panic attack. But it was my body and my mind trying to tell me something, and I didn't know what it was. I tried to figure it out. I had some therapy for maybe 6 months. Um, I never got to the bottom of it because I kept drinking, and that was something that I just did not want to let go of. And even though it did help my anxiety, like when I would get to the drinking session, the hangover and then the next day typically left me feeling more anxious than I normally would have been. And looking back on it now, I know it's because there was a combination of I never got to the root causes of my problems from years ago. I certainly wasn't coping with my problems in the current situation, and I was drinking lots of alcohol pretty much on a daily basis. Not so much in my 20s. I was more like every other day because I drank so much that I just couldn't drink the next day. But especially in my 30s when I was drinking like less per session, still a lot of alcohol, but not as much as I was drinking in my 20s per sitting, but I was able to drink more days. So in my 30s, I was pretty much drinking like 5, 6 days a week. And that really, my panic attacks, they started to go away. I suffered with those for about 10 years from that age of 24 when I had that first one till probably around like 33, 34. So a good 10 years. That didn't mean my anxiety went away. It just kind of became a little bit more manageable, I guess. I still wasn't on any medications. I refused to take any antidepressants. I just wanted to drink. That was like my medicine. And so that's really what I wanted to get across here is that alcohol does help in the immediate moment. It helps you feel better. But what I learned over the years that I've been sober is that the alcohol is calming us more because we anticipated it, and it's our body being thankful that we're finally putting alcohol back into our systems. And even though it didn't feel like we were having withdrawals, we were having like mental withdrawals from alcohol, or at least that was my experience with it. And so just getting to that drinking session and getting it into into my system was a relief. And that was a on repeat every single day. And so it never really I was never able to get to the bottom line of my anxiety. I was never able to get to the root causes of it. Um, and when I quit, I mean, it took a few months for me to realize that the root cause of my anxiety was the alcohol. It, I mean, yes, I did have underlying issues going on that spanned decades, and I needed to work on those things. But without removing the alcohol, I never would have been able to get to that point. And to that point, I did have someone comment on my video last week. The one of them about being an alcoholic and not liking the term alcoholic, feeling like it's kind of a label. And his comment was, "Josh, you are an alcoholic. You would be served better to think that thought because I've seen so many people over my 20 years of being sober relapse because they refused to refer to themselves as an alcoholic." I didn't really have a response to that. I mean, I didn't really want to get into that. and argue, or I wasn't going to change this person's mind. They clearly have it made in their mind that these people relapsed because they refused to call themselves an alcoholic, to which I would say I can't believe that that would be true, just because for me, I did a poll last week, and I did that poll because of that comment, and it was pretty much even where it's I don't like that term, and it doesn't really matter to me either way. So, and I'm right in between those two things. Like I don't really care, but I also don't think that it's good to label, and that's kind of why AA never really like worked for me, is because I didn't want to admit that I was like a slave to alcohol. Because the thing is I gave up the alcohol because I wanted a better life, and to me it was more empowering to think of it like that. Like, if I drink, I don't have power over alcohol, but if I don't drink, then I have the power over it. I don't have to have it. So, in terms of being an alcoholic or not, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't discriminate either which way. If that's the term that people want to use, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. I like not using labels. But getting back to the anxiety portion of this, um, I feel like there's when we get wrapped up in these labeling ourselves, or people labeling us, that can cause anxiety for people, and that's why I don't feel like it does us any good to do that. That's just my thought on it. I feel like it's better just to say, like, I'm alcohol free. I'm living a better life. I'm living the life that I wanted to lead all along. Um, and I wouldn't, I wouldn't label like someone who overeats, or you know doesn't eat certain foods, uh, like anything. You know what I mean? I wouldn't use those terms for those people, like people. So it doesn't for me. It doesn't really do any good. But I wanted to talk about, let's see, makes life more interesting. Does drinking really make our lives more interesting? In the moment when we're drinking alcohol, it feels like it's serving a purpose. It feels like it's making things interesting for us. Um, Maybe we are, whatever you like to do while you're drinking. Like for me, I like to watch sports. I like to watch movies. I like to go to a brewery. I like to like go to a park. I like, there are certain things that I like to do while I was drinking. Certain people I like to be with while I was drinking, and all those things. It felt like it made life interesting, and I think that that's one of the things that we think about. And alcohol is like the center of that universe, and it's hard to see that until you're out of that addiction, out of that loop, out of and you have some distance from drinking. Then it's easier to see that life is interesting without alcohol. All those things that were happening, those people that we're with, all the events that we were attending, all of those things were interesting. The alcohol didn't make it more interesting. In fact, it probably made things worse because of the things that we might have said, the way that we might have reacted and behaved towards people. And in fact, it was the opposite of interesting. It made things worse. And like I said, it's hard to see that because the alcohol is lying to us. The alcohol is it's insidious like that. It's not a functioning being. I know that, but at the same time, if we give control over to alcohol, the alcohol only takes from us. It doesn't give us anything. And when I would think about how alcohol might enhance this situation, I thought, when after I got sober, I thought, man, that's a myth. The alcohol did not make anything better. It just didn't. And when I hear people talk about how alcohol is enhancing their situation, when I go to events and I see people drinking and it seems like they're having a good time, and maybe they are, but I don't know what's going on in their life when they go home. Maybe their life is miserable. Maybe they don't have a problem with alcohol. Uh, there's certainly a lot of people, and I don't think if you're watching this video, you're one of them that um, that can just go out and have a drink or a half a drink and walk away from it. I could never do that. That was never me. I had to drink it all. Whatever I had in my fridge, I had to, unless I had a ton, I was going to finish it off, but not run out. I always had to have that exact amount or more, so that I didn't have to run out or go to the store or have someone drive me somewhere, or because was too inebriated to drive or any of these things. So alcohol definitely doesn't make things more interesting, not at all. Um, Life's no fun with without alcohol. It's unfulfilling without alcohol. Like I said, with the other aspect, I mean, do we um, does alcohol really fulfill us? Does it make things better? Um, does it make things more fun? And if we lose alcohol, let's say we feel like we're giving it up. You know, we don't give it up on our own volition. We feel like we're forced into it for health reasons, for legal reasons, for any of these things. Uh, does that mean that life's not going to be fun? A lot of people say, and I've heard at least a couple of people in my life say, I'm not trying to live some sober life. That's boring. That's not fun. In fact, a couple of people that talk to me about it, they do like sober October or dry January, and I'll text with them and they'll be like, man, this is boring. But they do it because they want to prove to themselves that they don't have a problem with alcohol, or alcohol doesn't control them. And they make it to that 30 days, and then they go right back to how they drank before, 8 beers in a sitting, whatever. And it's like, that's a problem. I mean, it might not seem like it in the, maybe you're drinking light beers or you're not getting like totally hammered, but it's not helping our situations. It's not making things better. It's not helping our health. It's not helping our relationships. It's not helping any of these things. And for me, like I said a little bit earlier in the beginning of this video, was that I found my relationship with God a couple years after I got sober. I always gave God the credit, the glory for getting me sober, because it was 2 weeks or so before I ultimately quit drinking, that I got down on my hands and knees and begged God to take me out of that pain and out of that misery. He did. He gave me the tools that I needed after all those years. And when I started to find a church that I enjoyed, a pastor that I like to listen to and talk to and interact with, I started to post about those interactions on my sobriety group. And I kind of felt like it wasn't like a religious forum, or it wasn't really a forum where I felt comfortable talking about my Christianity on there. So I wasn't being fulfilled in that aspect of my sobriety anymore. So I kind of was at a crossroads with it. I still was on that group for a while, for another year or so, year and a half. But like I said, I wasn't feeling like fulfilled. So, but my relationship and my prayers and my gratitude and my life kind of started to change when I started to really mend my relationship with God. I started to read scripture every day. I read the entire Bible last year from cover to cover. Before that, the most I ever read was maybe a few pages of Genesis, and then I'd get bored or didn't understand it. And still, I mean, I like the Old Testament it is kind of slow, and it's kind of I mean, I don't want to say it like I don't enjoy it, but like there's a lot of numbers, a lot of um maybe just it's not the New Testament. So I kind of enjoyed the New Testament, the Gospels, a little bit more than that, but I would read a little bit of both each day, and it was fulfilling to do that. And now this year, I'm reading um, the uh, Gospels only, uh, and it's just I spend 10 to 15 minutes a day in the Bible. I watch my pastor online a sermon each week, and pray, and that's what's fulfilling to me. It was never the alcohol that was fulfilling. It seemed like it in the moment. Again, that was addiction talking. It didn't. That ultimately was a lie, and it didn't help. So, and then uh, you can't stop drinking unless uh, you're an alcoholic. You can't stop drinking unless alcohol is a problem for you, and that's just not true. Um, like I said earlier, I made well, I did a live stream and I talked about this too, where the poll that I took was how many drinks did you have? It overwhelmingly was like 10 or more. Uh, well, at least there were some that were like under that. Some were even like 1 to 3 drinks. But they're on my channel. They're questioning alcohol's role in their life. You're questioning that, and that's awesome. And we don't have to have like a severe alcohol problem to want to rid alcohol out of our lives, because there's lots of news reports and the last few years that um, non-alcoholic drinks are skyrocketing. Um, they're making all these different beers, wines, and liquors that are non-alcoholic. There's a shift in people's mindsets, I think, especially since the pandemic, where we want to be healthier, more health conscious, and so we understand that alcohol isn't helping us. I know that maybe 5 years ago or so, when I quit drinking, it seemed like the CDC in the United States did start to say that zero drinks per, like no alcohol is safe. Like no amount of alcohol is safe. Before that, it was like 14 drinks per week for a male. I forget how many it was for female, maybe 10 units. But I never stuck to that. And so for me, it didn't really matter. It's like trying to tell someone that smokes cigarettes that that's unhealthy for them. If they're using it, they're smoking it, they don't care. You know what I mean? And that's what it was like with drinking too. But I think, and I feel like our society has shifted to where it's like we know that alcohol doesn't make us feel good. I mean, even just one drink is going to dehydrate us. 2 drinks is going to make us maybe get a headache. 3 drinks, and so on, till the point where we don't feel good. And so that's really all I wanted to get out for today. The falsehoods of drinking and alcohol, and just how it's not all it's cracked up to be, in my opinion. Um, and so I'm glad that you're here. Please consider liking and subscribing and coming along with me on this. If you've got anything that you want to talk about, please put down in the comments where you are with your sobriety, where you are with your relationship with alcohol, and what you want to see in your future. Um, Consider becoming a member. Um, I've also got a sobriety group, Sobriety in the Storm. It's a private Facebook group. I'll pin the link in the comments below for that group. And check out my videos on Wednesdays and Sundays. And members can view those as soon as I post them, usually the night before. And I'll be having some live streams, some public and some members only ones coming up. So stay tuned for those. And other than that, have a great alcohol free day. We'll talk to you next time.